Impi, Bonanzi empieza, Ubani venga chincha mabubesi. Impi, Bonanzi empieza, Ubani venga chincha mabubesi. Impi, Bonanzi empieza, Ubani venga chincha mabubesi. Bonanzi empieza, Ubani venga chincha mabubesi.
And so we are in the final. In the final we are, as predicted, the Springboks are in the final. Goeienaand Jalberik, is jy op mute? Of was jy net gesond?
Is ek op mute? Nee, ek so het ek gevoel in naweek, I was suffering in silence. En toe kom alles uit op my laaste. Kyk hier, guys, wie ook al die is wat in die pool gespring het, as julle hom ken, asseblief, stuur ons sy nommer, stuur ons sy kontakbesonderhede, ons sal graag vir hom sê, maar hy het niks anders gedink Jan, ons wen, ek hardloop pool toe. What a guy.
Ek het gehoor, hy het nog sy cellfoon in sy sak gehad, hè?
Wow, what a feeling, guys.
Welcome to Têkkel Thursday, and when we started this series, this was the climax that we hoped for. We were certainly a bit unsure when we looked at the draw, but this is the climax that we hoped for. Alberik, baie van die mense, hulle noem dit die toetswedstryd van die eeu, the World Cup final of the century, and it's boiling down to the Springboks facing arch rivals, the All Blacks, on the biggest stage ever. Let's forget 1995. This is, perhaps, in the professional era, the biggest game of rugby we have ever seen in our lifetime.
Absolutely massive, and just like you said, there's 95 was massive just because of the significance of it, and that set the tone for the box going forward. And looking to 2007 and 2019, with all due respect to those wins, when it comes to the final matches, it never kind of brought the hype that an All Black box final that can bring. So yeah, it's massive, it's huge. Yeah, like you said, it's probably the most biggest game ever. I don't know. I think for a lot of these players it will be probably the biggest game in their career.
No, for sure. And tonight we will speak to a very popular journalist within the rugby fraternity. So we'll chat to Wynona a little bit later, Wynona Louw. We'll chat to her and get her impressions. And Alberik, just an hour and a half ago, the All Black team delayed their team announcement. We're going to reveal and chat about the teams a little bit later on. But to latch on, the Springboks announcing their team slightly earlier than normal, and they went with a
7-1 split. No surprises there. Look, for me, just looking at, and we'll talk about it in a second. It's clear as day what we're going to be doing. It's clear as day that the box, are going to be looking at. I think the weather has a role to play. I think the fact that there is some like 60% rain expected, and that's indicative. I feel for Mani. I really feel for Mani. He's been the player for the box for the entire season so far. I think, besides goal kicking, I think he really, really deserves to have played in that final. But I think this is a horses for courses kind of thing at this moment. And yeah, I feel for him. En ek sal nog steeds gehad het, hy moet op die bank ten minste sit, man. Yes, man, om 'n game te vang. Hy is die ou wat die game sal gevang het vir jou. In die laaste paar minute. But yeah, that's what that's it. But I need to just look at towards. Sorry,
ja, nee, ek so baie meer, ek like die 7-1 split. Remember, this is a roll of a dice. So I believe that this is the moment to be brave. This is the moment to show your worth. And they went with a 7-1 split. The one thing that obviously bothers me is the one, Wynona Louw. But let's not go there. It's my opinion about Willie is well documented. I think he's a great player, but I think he's well past his sell-by date. And for him, om 'n 7-1 split te maak vir die Rugby World Cup final in 2023 op sigself, ongelukkig, of hy 'n goue medalje kry en of hy 'n silwer medalje kry, net vir hom om daai squad te maak is 'n prestasie op sy eie. Ek weet nie hoe hy die squad maak nie. Die Springboks coaches weet baie beter as ons, maar sekerlik, op 'n 7-1 split. Yes, as hy een oorbly, is Willie maklik een van die laaste ouens wat ek sou kies.
Look, I mean, I know, there's off days and on days, and as hy een bal, as die eerste bal aanslaan, dan that sets the tone for the rest of his game. But I need to look towards the results of the past weekend. I mean, it was some big games for two teams at least, and I think for the RGs, one to forget. I think the All Blacks have really showed their worth in terms of the pace that they can play at, and where they are at the Rugby World Cup. It's just testament to that score. Looking at towards the games that the All Blacks had, you would almost say that they actually had an easier game than the rest of the other teams. I mean, I think the Boks looked at something like I think 4 of the top 6 nations in the world they challenge, and so hopefully that won't tell too much coming this weekend. But obviously the one that we've all been watching is the come from behind match from the Boks, popping it in the last 11 minutes of the game with some fantastic forward play and then obviously very accurate goal kicking. South Africa taking it over England. I think we did say last week, let's not the Owens onderskat here. But it's still England after all. They've been in the top 5 for a long while. They mightn't have the greatest of seasons the last year or two, but they are England after all. And I think that is why we didn't want to take them for granted in that sense. So there's a lot to be said about that game and who actually kicked, and the penalty was the penalty. I think Ox had a fantastic. I almost think Ox was my man of the match, coming up and literally getting that penalty that we needed that would put us forward for the try and for that penalty of Andre. But we made it, guys. That's all we can say.
Yeah, no, and I think you were the guy that actually that called this one to be very, very tight. And I think I recall very clearly you saying we should not underestimate the English side. And I think when we watched that game in the first half, particularly in the first half, we were really under pressure. And I think Borthwick and his team, all credit to them for bringing
100%.
I would say a very, very well-tailored game plan, bringing them very close. It was very, very close. We were under the pump, and if they converted some of their opportunities into points in the first half, the Springboks would have been in serious trouble. They were dominant in the first half, with the Boks under serious pressure. I think they studied it well, and you latched on to a very pertinent point in terms of the conditioning of the Springboks. They played a very, very strenuous, very high intensity quarterfinal against France, and you could see against the English that when the English kicked the ball towards our wingers or our back three, with our forwards needing to turn back, we really struggled. Even with the subs coming on, we were not as fast. Kwagga was not as fast, and a lot of people would say, it was raining, it wasn't the ideal conditions. We certainly looked sluggish. We certainly didn't look like a team that rested for 7 to 10 working days. And in general, if you look at that performance, I think the Springboks, apart from the one line out where Hanrey kicked the ball very close and Ergie Snyman went over, we didn't even launch the mauls and the attacks from the areas that we wanted. We didn't get into the correct territories. And again, I am glad that Faf starts on the weekend, because Faf from the bench with Kobus Reinach starting, it is a failed project. And I think Faf should either start or he should drop out of the 23 totally. I'm still saying that I believe that Grant Williams as a substitution scrum half, or even covering some of the other positions, would have put us in a much better position. But Alberic, I think, all in all, if you look at the route of the Springboks, having to play out of that pool with Ireland and Scotland, and then getting to this final, we should give credit, and credit where it's due. And this group of players, along with Rassie, Rasmus, Jacques Nina, but Dion Davids, Zwandile Stick, they really did us proud to get to this point. Now it's 100%. All to play for on Saturday.
100%. And looking at a few comments that's coming through, even Lederman saying Malcolm Box besering forced the 7-1. Malcolm was felt, Malcolm is there was talks earlier today of Richie Mo'unga might have been injured or has a bit of a niggle. And someone was saying that, Malcolm Marx is equal to Richie Mo'unga and Telia and Tamati and all those guys in that one player. So it is a big loss, just not having Malcolm there. But yeah, a point there by even Lederman. And Victor wat hier kom. Victor wat sê #justice for Mani, soos ek gesê het. So yeah. Ashraf wat sê block for Victor as 'n Skali blokkie, guys. Welcome.
Kyk, kom ons voor ons by ons gas uitkom. Kom ons praat oor Mani Lebok. Ek is bitter spyt oor die feit dat Mani nie in die starting line-up is nie, maar bygesê ook, jy weet, ek dink laasweek was 'n eye-opener in terme van die kondisies. Ons het gehoor dat daar 'n bietjie reën in die lug is vir die finaal. En ek dink, jy weet, as 'n spansport, sommige tye gaan dinge nie jou kant toe nie. En hulle het gegaan vir Andre Pollard, tried and tested tipe van benadering, wat ek wel sou dan wou sien. En jy weet, baie van die mense wat in tune sê, ek is verskriklik krities teenoor Willie Leroux. Ek is nie krities teenoor Willie Leroux nie. Ek kyk die wedstryd en ek vra myself, if you want to go 7-1 split, and you put Willie Leroux on the bench, with Kainan Moody and Mani Lebok in your squad, why didn't you consider Kainan Moody or Mani Lebok ahead of Willie Leroux? It is something that the Springbok coaches in their professional type of sector would probably explain better. Maar daar sekere goed, jy weet, daar sekere goed wat nie op-add nie, en dit is een van dit. Dis een van die goed wat ek regtig mee puzzled is. En Willie was, try assist king. But it's been 2 years where I believe Willie is past his best. And maybe I must just renew my subscription. Maybe I'm looking at something totally different. But it is a selection that puzzles me.
Yeah, are you saying the Mani selection that puzzling you, or the Willie?
No, Mani's omission. If you want to go 7-1, obviously Mani's omission. But then you are left with the likes of Grant Williams, Mani Lebok, Kainan Moody, Willie Leroux, and the likes to obviously fill the one position. You've went with 7 forwards and 1 back. I'm trying to understand 100%. Out of the pack of cards that you have, Kainan Moody, Lucanio Willie Leroux, Mani Lebok, why would you select Willie Leroux? There must be some logic behind it, and that logic goes beyond my comprehension.
The only
maybe that is why I'm not the Springbok.
No. But the only thing that I can think of why they would pick Willie in that situation is because Willie on a good day, Willie brings a lot of attacking flair to the team. But Willie played very well when we saw him play this earlier this year when he came off the bench with Mani some good interplay, them switching and that kind of thing. So there was moments that looked great, and I think with a guy like Pollard on, I think because of Pollard starting, I think they needed a Willie to come up. If we are 15 points behind, I almost don't, with in the first 30 minutes, for example. Then
if you're 15 points behind against the All Blacks, you would bring Willie instead of Mani.
I think they would probably do that because of the fact that Willie almost plays better, or at least Willie's almost the cover for the lack that Pollard has in attack. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, Willie has been that guy for the Boks when Andre played. So I think that's the only reason I'm thinking why Willie would play. I'm a big fan of having Keenan in this team because of the fact that last weekend our wings were getting peppered by up and unders. Yeah, they were getting peppered, and the English, there was some obstruction play, and be that as it may, those tall wingers were getting to the ball higher than what the Kirtley and the Chesney were getting. So I would have thought that Keenan coming on would have been able to secure ball, and then also he can play in the center role if that was needed to be done. And I think there's nothing wrong with I don't see why there is anything wrong with a Damien playing the full 80 minutes. I don't see why Willie would have to come on and a guy like a Damien would have to come off for any old reason. So I agree with you. I think it's one of those things. Yeah. I definitely think that we should have had a Keenan and even a Grant Williams on the bench and go with a 6-2 split. I think that would probably been a better bet. Sonneblom, boss VP says, guys, 7-1 split a bit over ambitious. 6-2 split is more within the DNA of the Boks. No, for sure. And it's almost, we've gone risky with the 6-2 split a couple of years ago, and it was said as risky. And now we're going even more riskier with a 7-1 split. As 'n Faf moet in die eerste 3 minute af moet gaan, wat gebeur dan? Are we seeing Cheslin on scrum off? I mean, it throws the whole entire game up.
Yeah, but again, remember with Jonathan McQuena on the show, we said perhaps the 7-1 split is not something that we will see in a knockout game. We need to give credit to the Springbok coaching staff for showing some balls and throwing it out there and say, here is my 7-1 split.
That's it.
We're coming at you with 7 forwards. Yeah, we're coming at you with seven forwards. Andre and Faf to control the game, giving us a sniff at the end. I'm going to launch 7 forwards at you. And I think the discussion was, how will the All Blacks respond? Are they changing their team at last minute? They did not. They went conventional 5-3. But just to respond to Sonneblom is saying, the Boks coaching staff, they need credit. Whether it's right or wrong, and we can disagree and say it should have been Willie or not, we are not the coaching staff. What they did was, they showed a great composure and they were very brave. They are saying, well, this is our throw of the dice. The worst thing that can happen is that we will finish with a silver medal. What we are going to do is we roll the dice and let's test your temperament. All Blacks, here we go. 7 forwards against you. Can you match this? So I think in that regard, the Springbok coaches need some credit. And I believe that if we are in this game with 20 more minutes to spare and it's close, they launch those forwards and we are in the game to perhaps take the game away. The one risk is the one backline player. You've mentioned one interesting thing. We know that if Faf gets injured, one of our wings would go to scrum half, and that obviously brings a total new dimension. But well done to the Springbok coaches for throwing a spanner in the works in one of the biggest games in the history of
in your head, Rassie. I think if there was a mind game in this final, the last time I think, if I'm not mistaken, we played 7-1 was against the All Blacks in Twickenham, and we know what happened there. So there was this moment in the game, exactly, and there was this moment in a lot of the comments on social media was that the Boks looked like they just lacked something towards the end of that game. They kind of just looked like they looked a bit tired, etc. But there's no motivation needed. I think come this weekend, and we'll talk about it a bit later with our guest, that there's no motivation needed for the Boks to actually bring it against the All Blacks. I think the All Blacks, do motivate you. Richard through fairness, let's say, Willie brings the experience which the other guys do not have. Point. I mean, Willie has been around the block, and he's been around the while. I'm ready to ball fang, Richard. I'm ready to ball fang. That's all what I'm going to do. Patricia would say, I agree. I would like Moody on the bench too. Yes, I mean, we're massive fans of Moody, and I think that BMT for such a young kid is going to stand us well going forward. Richard Erasmus sê, hy Têkkel, my hart skaars gestel na die sending toe kom die bonkie storie. Jo, wat 'n week. No, for sure. Ons op die safe kant, ons op die safe kant. We're not going to go on that side of the story. I didn't even download what saying, guys, keep the comments coming on. That's lekker to see and lekker to engage with the guys in this way. Single back on bench, experience enough cross-functional experience in the starting lineup. Good point. There is enough experience in the pack just to do that shifting around, and even with Willie, we do have that adaptability that maybe the All Blacks don't necessarily have. One of them do go off. He's a bit of a spanner. I mean, we know D-Mac, and we'll look at the teams in a second. Dave McKenzie can jump on fly off and obviously fullback. But the Boks do have a bit of room to maneuver in that.
But taking into account, you don't want to go toe to toe with the All Black side playing their game. Even with Mani, you don't 100%. Want to go into a dogfight with them, trying to win 100%. A Rugby World Cup in a conventional rugby manner. You want to shake it up a bit. And Clive would call it boring. A lot of other coaches call it physical dominance is what the Springboks bring. You don't want to go into a slugfest playing rugby for something that is better on the eye. We need to bring something different. And I think the Springbok coaches brought something different. And I believe
100%.
There was an emergency meeting. Once that Springboks side was announced, there was an emergency meeting in the All Black camp, asking themselves, is the team that we have conventional as it is? Should we continue? Die ouens het sopas 'n 7-1 split announced. Moet ons kyk na 'n D-Mac of 'n Anton Leonard Brown om gedrop te word? They had that meeting and they said, let's stick to our guns. And kudos to the Springbok coaches for just bringing another flavor to this final. It is a battle of contrasting play and it's 100%. A battle of game plans. And the one who brings his game plan the best will trump and will be victorious in this Rugby World Cup final.
100%. Faisal, final bassa, wat say we have a 6-2 split for Saturday. Kwagga is the under backline player. Yeah, and Kwagga has been, probably the sub for me this tournament. Yeah, this for me has been absolutely amazing. I think there was one of the podcasts where they actually did I don't know what they call it, but almost like a player rating. And they found out that of all the players, Kwagga's rating coming off the bench was phenomenal. He was just pounding for that, that 20 or 30 minutes that he came on. He was absolutely brilliant. And yes, with the speed, I definitely see him as a backline player as well. Franz Rousseau will say Kobe will take over at Faf at 9. Willie cover wing and fullback. Willemse at 10. Kwagga at wing, Rousseau. No, for sure. I think there is that adaptability we spoke about, Heini, that would definitely bring, the dimension that we need. I think the big thing for us is going to be the rain. I think that is, I think had a large impact on the selection. And there's one more final comment, Richard, saying, do we carry the underdog tag going to the final? Listening to New Zealand media, momentum with the All Blacks. For sure, I think I think before this game, before the English game, it was said SA final. SA to take it at least. But with the weekend they just had and another tough one mentally. My only fear is that the only bit is how do we, come up for another massive game, probably the biggest game of these guys' careers against the All Blacks. So I think the box would take the underdog tag easily. They will take that on their shoulders.
We cannot be the favorite going into this. I think the only people that would probably rate us as favorites would be the New Zealand media to take the attention away from their run in. I think at the start of the World Cup, we probably would have said that we have a better chance to win the World Cup than New Zealand, but it would have been tough for us to even reach the final. Now New Zealand is there, and they are there ahead of France, which we believe at their home ground would have been a Tavatamaleiki. And we also said that a team like Ireland would have been featured. Now we are here, but we must say that in terms of form, if we talk about pedigree and record, Springboks. We've never lost a Rugby World Cup final. We have a balanced side. We have a better identity than New Zealand. Form, all with New Zealand. So we're giving them the favorites to win on Saturday. But New Zealand, Engeland was ook die favorites geweest so 'n paar jaar terug en die skoor oor die 30 vir die Bokke. Let's hope we can repeat that fate. Let's get our guest on and get her opinion. Renowned journalist. Ek het nou net daar vir haarself gevra, waar skryf jy deesdae? Ek lees net nou en dan by IOL. But if you can remember and you are following the show, she was one of our guests, Wynona Louw. She was one of our special guests. She told us where she comes from and blah, blah, blah. But tonight we are asking her, we are putting her on the spot and we are asking her, is dit die All Blacks of is dit die Bokke? Wat Saterdag 9 uur Suid-Afrikaanse tyd, miskien so 2 ure. Wynona, welkom by die Têkkel Talk Show. Kom ons vra vir jou uit die staanspoor uit, voor ons in diepte gaan. Is dit die Springbokke of is dit die All Blacks?
Van vroeger, I mean, you didn't give a chance to just breathe.
Yes,
I was going to lead with why don't you geleentheid julle, and now usually that question comes afterwards and you
now
I'm going to say Springboks. I think by 3 at most, because we also have to be realistic. But and there's a few comments like obviously Heinrich, like you said, we need to credit or just give credit where it's due. With the Bok management staff, the coaching staff showing balls for going with the selection, because now it's never been done. But with the Mani issue, I'm sorry, but that is a very, very, to me, in fact, I don't understand why there hasn't been more media coverage on his omission. Because to me, I would feel that if they really wanted to show balls, it would be going with Mani, not necessarily as a starting 10. It always could have been circled around and worked around, We could have moved under to 10. There's a lot of adaptations or permutations that could have happened. And I just feel that it is absolutely brutal and it makes no sense. I know horses for courses, as you guys also said, but let's remember what we achieved in 2019. It was our highest scoring final ever, okay? And Mani brings on attack that no other flyover does, in South Africa. And I just feel that it's brutal for him to miss out. And I get it's finals rugby, 3 points count a lot. But the selections, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bold statement, I know to start off with, but it's a bit there's a lot of issues there. And of course I get that this is the most experienced Springbok side, especially with the halfback pairing, Faf and Andre breaking records. They're topping the previous standing record by 1 test, but still, it's you also have to look at things that can swing a game. When it comes to attack, there's been no more potent backline than New Zealand in terms of what they could do. So it literally takes one opportunity, one chance to swing a game. And do we really, you get what I'm saying? So it's a bit, Yeah, I'm still a bit upset about the Mania mission, but yeah, but I do think that we'll still take it by 3. To answer your question, it was very long-winded, but yes, I do think we will take it by 3 at the
Yeah.
very least, or at
Yeah,
least.
let's. I think it's an important point to make, and I think Wynona hits it right on the head in terms of even if you don't select Mani in the starting 15, it still puzzles me if you go 7-1. And because if you go 7-1, you would think that you would be dominating up front and you would bring the one backline player on to change the game. There's no better player, and taking nothing away from Kane and Moody and taking nothing away from Lucanio. Let's leave Willie aside. I'm still puzzled how Willie even makes the one. But how do you omit Mani Libbok from that 7-1 split? Because you were sitting with a situation where Pollard can go down, Mani comes, he slots right in. If the center goes down, Damien Willemse squeezes in there, you get Mani on. Mani's got the X factor. Your scrum half in Faf goes down, you move one of the wings, you would probably move Damien Willemse there. You have Mani on the field that if something then happens to Pollard. So I fully agree. And I'm not going to go into, let's not go get emotional about the omission. But it's really strange that certain players gets omitted from teams a lot easier than other players gets omitted. Bearing in mind, remember, Andre Pollard will play his only full test match in a Rugby World Cup final. He joined the squad for Tonga. He played half a game against France. He played half a game against England. And then all of a sudden, I'm really also taken aback that our South African media didn't go at this and saying, hang on, I've studied the game, I have the stats, I have the information to say, surely this should be an eye-opener that a guy that didn't even make the side is now all of a sudden jumping ahead of Amani Libbok in a final against the All Blacks of a Rugby World Cup. And I want to applaud Wynona for taking that stance.
And guys, sorry for me just jumping in here, but it's, how many tests, so how many games during the World Cup has Pollard actually started? We all know what happened the last time or the only time he started, okay? Mani came on, that spark, that change was immediately there. So where's the reward for those consistent performances, okay? I get it's horses for courses, I get it's finals rugby, I get that you need to be able to slot the T, that we all understand. But where are the comparisons in terms of the disparities? So the scrum can go either way, It does not matter how experienced we are. Look at how the New Zealand front row has been doing. The only area where I feel we really have the edge is the lineouts, and that's only because we've been tested. We've had a tougher, route to the final in terms of that segment so far. But when it comes to backline play, what's gonna look at the 2019 World Cup in Japan? Okay, it was such a high-scoring final. And, I feel like it's almost a bit of a downside that we now are regressing to the safety first stance, Now we forego the whole aspect of what Mani can bring on attack. Now we focus on, okay, Pollard's been more reliable, even though how much rugby has he even played this season? You get what I'm saying? So it's just, if they really want to show balls, and as you said, kudos to them for going 7-1. It's not been done before. But there are so many permutations that could have been worked in to allow for Mani still to be in the squad. Okay, and it's just, I feel it's never mind it being fair or not, because that's not how life works. But we all know, because obviously the breakdown is going to be important, okay? The set pieces are going to be important, the aerial battle, obviously. But are we, as much as we're saying, okay, this is our most experienced squad, it's basically a copy and paste of our 2019 World Cup winning squad. Is it really going to be enough? Because look how New Zealand have been playing, and look at their strengths. And there's nothing as dangerous as complacency in sport. Not that I'm saying the Springboks are being complacent, but let's remember, going to this World Cup, New Zealand and England, for example, weren't in the best of spaces, okay? It was probably ideal in terms of they're a bit low on the radar. They served down low. There wasn't this much hype around them, which is probably the best thing that can happen to a team, going to such a major event. But I just don't agree with the selections for this game. And also in terms of, I get, experience. I get the tests and all of those records, but I just don't know. I mean, it bothers. As you said, Willie, what does he bring that another utility does not? In fact, most of the backline players nowadays in the Springbok squad can be classified as utility backs. Okay, so it's not like this is an exceptional standalone stance that Willie's taking. So what does he bring? I mean, we could have easily, if you really wanted to, you could have always gone with, Marnie at 10, 100, 12, even though you would want a bit more of a distributing 12, I would think, outside of Marnie. But, there were ways and means around it. And I don't know, the Marnie thing is really, it bothers me, it's upsetting to me. And especially after what Jock Ninawa said last week. I just don't, this is even more insulting than a coach replacing a starting player before the half hour mark or half time. Let's hope it works out. But yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we
it's
saw.
quite an emotional place, but I mean, there's just certain things that you don't.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, we started the show off, Wynona, just with that said, where, I mean, my line was, I feel, it's a pity for Mane because he's played this entire year and we played some fantastic rugby throughout this year. He brought that a dimension to this team throughout this year. We scored more tries. There's been phenomenal plays just now backline. Willie even looked better with Mane, running the show. And with that said, Mane's influence would have been so pivotal coming off the bench even. I mean, if I mentioned earlier, if we are 12 points behind, 15 points behind, with 20 minutes to go, I would throw the dice to Mane and say, Mane, here we go, and throw it, So, again, if it was a 6-2 split, I would have counted on a Mane at least being on the bench. I need your point. I mean, Willie just, Willie is Willie. Wynona has a question. Wynona from Heinrich Adonis, consider finals, Paris weather prediction, taking and capitalizing on early points and chances. Do you think that had an influence also on the decision to go with a 7 split and also with dropping a player like Mane?
No, 100%. Because I think, guys, if you look at, obviously, we know it's finals rugby. Those you go for poles. Okay, so you're not going to go. We get that, but as much as we have to consider that and that reliability of the tee and the weather conditions, we also need to factor in that this is not any other kind of opposition. This is New Zealand. No backline has been more potent. I mean, look at Will Jordan, for example, than New Zealand. Literally a split-second decision or one opportunistic try can change the entire course of a game. And you can bring that to our backline. And it all starts with a general. So as much as I get that, Pollard is perhaps more, at the moment, more reliable or stable off the kicking tee, but let's also factor in how often he's played even. Rack up his test minutes this season compared to Marnie's. And people are easy to forget and quick to forget what Marnie did during the URC. I know it's quite a while back, but it's not like he's a poor kicker or bad place kicker. He's not. Every single fly has these dips. There's not a fly in world rugby history can say that he's never gone through that dip, And I just feel like, if you look at literally one decision can change this game, especially given the backline that New Zealand are playing with. And kudos to Andre and Faf. They have become the most, experienced halfback duo in South African or Springbok history.
Yeah.
But can we really afford? I also feel like there have been so many characteristics, mistakes from these Oaks in the last few weeks. Can we really afford that against New Zealand? Not saying that we shouldn't have gone with them, but I just feel that it was a bit inconsistent, especially with what was said last week, post that semi-final, in terms of the selections that were going to be made, the opportunities that were going to be given. For a guy like Marnie to miss out completely Also, I feel for someone like Grant Williams, Kobus Reinach. I mean, those are literally our attacking catalysts.
Yeah.
You know, and
Let's
I'm just concerned not that Kirtley, Arons, or Cheslin Colby can't bring that. But it does not start with the wingers. You know, they are literally what they do is a direct result of what happens in that channel. And we've lost that now by choice. So I'm just struggling to understand, you know, how, and it's upsetting to me personally because it's, you know,
Well, you got
I mean,
fans.
guys nominated for World Rugby, the top honor, and he does not play in a final which he contributed to so massively. It makes absolutely no sense.
100%, and obviously, you know, you're riding up a few of the guys on that's watching. So yeah, no.
Yeah, let's before we let Wynona go. In terms of, let's say we see the Andre Pollard of 2-3 years back, he gets it right because he was way off his game. In you know, a lot of people are saying he kicked the ball over. The French took to his channel, he was nowhere. Against it's not the Andre Pollard that I am used to. Let's say, for instance, Andre Pollard manages to get to his game where I remember him 24 months ago. We will probably look at this episode of the Têkkel Talk Show and say, we got this totally wrong. I am trying to figure out, how do you shake off in 14 working days? We had Jelly Bear running at his channel, getting past him like he was. It seems to be he wasn't even there. Against England, he tried to manage his weaknesses by kicking to the line and managing a wet game. The All Blacks will attack that channel. Andre is not the mobile Andre that we saw 12, 14 months ago. Maybe he proved something different in training in 7 working days. My logic tells me impossible. So they are going with a gamble saying the Springboks dominate possession, they dominate territory, everything goes our way, our forward get to go forward, and Henry and Faf pulls the strings. Then I believe Henry will probably thrive. If we are going to have a 50-50 possession game, Henry Pollard is going to be in big trouble in that channel. In big trouble. Adi Savaya will come at him hard. Bowden Barrett will come at him hard. Jordy Barrett will come at him hard. And he is not as mobile as what I've seen him be as a 28, 27, 26-year-old. It's clear. I've been watching that. So they've gambled on that one. They've given Mani a ticket to say Mani will gamble on this one. If Andre controls this game, if the Springbok is in possession, if we move forward and Faf gives him early and he gets it into the corners, Andre will have a blinder. I am just concerned about that 51% of possession which the All Blacks might have in any area of the field. They're going to rip them apart in that channel because Andre seems a bit sluggish for me. Let's hope it rains. Let's hope it rains heavily because we can be in big trouble in that channel if Andre doesn't get it right.
Look, I mean, it's realistic. It's obviously, I totally agree with you. How many times has this guy actually played? You know, Andre, more than 80 minutes this season. Let's track it up. Okay, so especially given, you know, I mentioned early on, it can go down to the wire in terms of, you know, the scrummaging. The breakdown battle will also be a battle. I do feel that the Springboks will have the upper hand at the lineouts purely based on the challenges we face, tougher opposition, in terms of that regard leading up to the final. But, you know, there are areas like, for example, the aerial battle. What's going to happen there, you know, around the fringes? You know, if Faf takes 23 seconds again just to clear a box kick, you know, what's going to happen in that regard? So I get why these choices were made fully. I mean, it is a Rugby World Cup final after all. But are we paying any kind of consideration to what's brought us thus far, you know, to this point? So, and it's not even solely just about Mani. It's just, the overall selections. It's 7-1, yes, it's ballsy, it's gutsy, but is it really the route that you're going to go in a final?
I think,
So,
and with that said, we know Rassie as being ballsy. He's been putting a lot of stuff out there with no ligte is or whatever he gebruik.
cones.
That's different. Yeah. But Rassie, there's a general feel, and even and this is me, what looking at the team, and I saw it this afternoon or this morning at least. I looked at it, I was like, okay, yeah, there's no money. You're 7-1, touch and go. But there's a part of you that says, I'm going to trust Rassie in this process. Man. So even though we know that Rassie has built up this I won't say aura about him, but he's built up when it comes to World Cups to make the right decisions when it matters. Last week's decision with the Ox coming up and playing the way that there's a bit of me that says trust Rassie, and I think that is almost a way for that gives me almost that puts me at ease. And a lot of fans, I mean, Bok fans as well. I'm looking at a few comments that's coming through where the guys are saying that even with all that said, where's the trust in the coaches? Richard coming through with that as well. There is that aspect as well. We kind of feel I trust Rassie with this, and is that a sentiment that would I'm hoping will carry us. But how do you feel about that sentiment, just having the fact that you have this trust in Rassie? He's brought us a World Cup before. Will he do it again?
Look, 100%. I mean, obviously, the guy is who he is, but I just can't shake this feeling that I feel that in 2019 in Japan, he went against the grain in so many aspects, which was fantastic, okay? But I can't help but feel that where's that same maverick attitude now? And for me, I just feel like, and I'm going to come back to the Marnie situation, and I do not have an issue with a 7-1 split at all. I feel that needs to be lauded, but the selections that went into that 1-7-1 split permutation, I mean, look at the score that we racked up against England in Japan, 32-12. That was record, not even breaking, it was record making, it was history making, record setting. And I just feel like, not to say that we are regressing by entrusting or almost banking on a 3-point game by going for Andre, but it's just like Rassie's, obviously we all know what he's done for South African rugby, so nobody can ever dispute that. I just would have liked to see a bit more of that, out the box thinking, and not devil may care attitude, but just that risk taking in terms of the Marnie selection, because I mean, nobody can do what he does in South African rugby, as a general, as a fly-off. And as much as I do realize and recognize that this is finals rugby, if you go up against a backline like New Zealand, I mean, look at the guys that we're all facing in one backline. It's a split-second decision that can swing the game, and it only takes one try or 3 points to completely shift the momentum of a game. And that is something that Marnie has proved on numerous occasions that only he can bring, okay? Yes, Andre is consistent. He may be more reliable in terms of his goal kicking, but is he going to pull a game changer? And I'm not bad-mouthing him at all. He deserves utmost respect. I mean, him and Fafa now the most capped halfback geo in South African or Springbok history. So, it's not in a disrespectful manner that I'm saying this, but I just would have liked to see more of that, off the cuff, this is be all end all or nothing kind of thinking or implementation go into this final. And who am I to say that, Rassie didn't make the right choice? Because, I mean, look where he is, and I'm just here giving my comments, on a preview. But I would have liked to see more of that. And I just feel, I hope we don't live to regret it. But the whole selection issue was it was a point that, and personally, I do not understand how so much of mainstream South African media glossed over that. You know, there was
I think
merely a
you do. I
mention
think you
made.
do understand it, but it's perhaps
Yeah.
something that you don't want
I mean,
to
I'm
mention.
part of it. I'm part of that commercial media, so it's not like I'm speaking, over the fence. But I mean, it was kind of like a shadow, like a blowover. Like nobody wrote a feature or comment piece or column on Marnie's omission. It was so blankly glossed over, and why? Why? Because it's not right. And I'm not saying I am right in saying this, but I mean, it's just how I feel like you don't disregard what brought you into this position in the first place. Finals rugby or not. So, but yeah.
Point.
Let's
I'm
let's
probably
let's
going
put you on let's put you on the spot. Yeah, let's put you on the spot before you let you go. You've mentioned a lot of things about Mani and the 7-1 split. Do you think that we can go all the way and on Saturday, 11 o'clock South African time? Do you think the Springboks can go out and beat this mighty All Black side?
100%. I do think we're going to take it. I don't think by more than 3 points. I think there's going to be a difference or margin of 3 points, but I do think we're going to take it. Yeah.
So
And
there
I
we have it.
I sounded heavily critical, but I was just that's. I still think
I think this is what the show is also about is getting different opinions. But I'm wishing you well also on your endeavors there. I want to read more of your things. I think you went slightly silent on IOL,
yes.
but as a previous guest, we just had to get you on to get your view. And thanks for joining us. And I'm pretty sure the viewers out there also enjoy your opinion. And I'm also sure that this will not be the last time. Who knows? Perhaps next week when we do beat New Zealand, or perhaps if we don't get through, we will still give you a ring and perhaps get your opinion, even if it's only in voice. But thanks for joining us, and we're hoping to read more of your news in the mainstream media.
Yeah, thank you guys for the opportunity and all the best for the nerves and all of that, for the final. But yes. I'm glad that you said, you didn't say if, you said when. When we win. You didn't go if. Just
when we do lift the cup. Thanks for joining us, Wynona Louw, renowned, well renowned. If you do read some English newspapers, you would probably know, and a name would probably pop up. I do enjoy reading her work, and now Beric, always nice to get another opinion from someone apart from ourselves.
Yeah, no, for sure. And also, just hearing things from a different point of view. I mean, we were, beginning, we all, again, like we said, we felt for Mani, but she just brought another angle that, there could have been a real chance taken with a Mani. I think we both felt that Mani could just be on the bench at least, if it was a case of us chasing a game. I mean, if this was Mount Smart and the Boks are 20 points behind in the first 20 or 15 points behind in the first 20, there's going to be some clawing back, and Mani's that guy that will bring you that X factor for sure. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of comments coming through. The guys have really, answered. Wynona, I need to say, Wynona has always went against the grain when needed. This is no other. We celebrate all before, yet we now become the judges of what we celebrated. Obviously, the fact that Rassie again comes back to the point. We trust Rassie in this process. Whether he has the history to back it up as well.
Yeah, Heinrich made a comment on early points. I hope he didn't assume that Mani cannot take early points. That would be I'm trying. He also said about we get the ascendancy, we get the early points. Was on the assumption that Pollard was on the field, and that Mani would perhaps not have taken, or the Sia would have not opted to go for poles or what. So I try to understand that comment, but in general, I think. Alberic, you've mentioned that Rassie has proven himself to be a brave selector. He shakes up selections. And again, like I've mentioned earlier in the show, even the fact that he went 7-1, whether it was 7-1 with a Willie, I do believe he shook up the New Zealand selectors and saying, wow, he did it again. We said that it was only for an exhibition game. He was never going to do it in a playoff game for a Rugby World Cup. He's doing it in a final of a Rugby World Cup. So in that sense, surely Rassie should be right up there when it comes to taking the risks and hoping the risk comes off. And if it does come off, who knows where we'll be sitting at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock South African time on Saturday. There we have the All Black side, Alberic, and we said, surely they're going to react and play a 6-2. Hulle het gesê, hey, speel jou 7-1 ons kom conventional.
Go for 5-3, go 5. And I find it, I think that they've had this Scott Barrett on flank for quite some time, and obviously just to bolster it, I think with Brody returning from injury, I think he missed that game against the Boks on Twickenham. So, they're obviously backing him to do the job. Obviously, the big name for me in that pack is Shannon Frizzell. Shannon Frizzell brings something massive. And if I'm not mistaken, he didn't play in the Twickenham game as well. So, Shannon Frizzell coming to the team, I think he brings a lot of weighting. I think a lot of mention in media has been around him being that Jerome Kaino like player. Just bringing that grit and hardness to that loose trio. But it's a strong team nonetheless. A lot has been spoken about Têkkel Lomax and Ethan de Groot as players that young players that can actually stand up against Kitsi and France. And points to be made about the two of them as well, because France and Kitsi, they have been solid, like we know, in the scrums, but they haven't really dominated, I feel, sometimes in open play. I know Kitsi is very good over the ball sometimes. We haven't seen that a lot. And maybe, just with our defensive system, that is maybe the role that they've kind of just, taken off from them, and they're just focusing on scrums, but and tackling, of course. But I haven't seen Kitsi steal the ball as often in this World Cup as we know he can. So there's definitely players to watch. I think that if you look at this whole entire squad, the bench, I think for me is going to be the deciding factor in this game. If we're going to be able to carry, if our forwards can carry the first 50 minutes, 60 minutes, there's damage to be done in the second half with guys like Jasper Wiese coming up, Jean Klein. Those going to be very intimidating. So whether that recipe will work remains to be seen. And we hope it does work. But I think that only looking at those two squads, I think the deciding factor is definitely going to be that bomb squad. Yeah.
No, for sure. And I think this is a serious team. You look at the All Black side from 15 right up until 1. Just look at that side. This is a serious team. 6 months ago, out of form, certainly out of form. Form is temporary. Class is permanent. This is a serious outfit. And I want to agree with you that perhaps the 5 forwards, with Williams, Lola, Whitelock, Papi Ali to a lesser extent, perhaps they are going to, if the Springboks is going to hang in there in this boxing match, let's call it a boxing match, a rugby game, but if it's going to be a slugfest, perhaps the All Blacks, but if it's going to go down to the wire, a 12-round on points type of boxing match, I do believe that the Springboks have enough in the tank to go round 10, round 11, round 12 to just pull the strings and empty the tank. But again, don't take away anything from this All Black side, that they will certainly start very fast or try and start as fast as they can. And the Springboks need to counter that. Ian Adams is saying, loose forwards, Dwayne to deliver his final swan song. We can obviously do the breakdown. Then we 50-50 there. And he's looking at 50%. If the Springbok can hang in general, territory, possession, and have the aerial duels, and if everything goes 50-50, the Springboks is going to be in with a serious chance. I'm just hoping that they can start better. They started very poorly against France. They started very poorly against England. They got away They got out of jail against those two teams. They cannot trail with 12 points, 15 points against New Zealand. It's going to be good night, nurse, and all she wrote. I cannot see this Boks side coming back from a 10 point, 12 point, 15 point deficit. We need to get into the lead and start fast.
Yeah, I think the only way for this All Black team, and no, with all respect to this team, the All Black team compared to the other teams, if the All Blacks don't have a great start in this game, and like you said, and we are toe to toe in the final 20 minutes, I just see the Boks championship mentality coming through, like they did against France, like they did against England. If they don't have that 20 minute start like they had at Mount Smart, and even the first 10 minutes of the second half, I see the Boks really kind of taking them to the line, I think, and winning it, because that's the only way I see this team winning. It's coming out with a bang, and making sure and I think players like the Jesse Kriel, and let's give credit to Jesse Kriel. We've been very critical on him on years. One of our mutual friends said, the Jesse. I said to him, Jesse he's been phenomenal. Hy sê vir my, nee, maar jy kan nie een game na 10 jaar, jou beste game na 10 jaar jy speel. So it is true. I mean, it took him a long while, but I think we're going to rely on his speed on our rush defense, because our line speed has been incredible. The comments on all the social media platforms, even the pundits speaking on a couple of podcasts, is the fact that our line speed is so phenomenal. And kudos to Jesse Kriel for bringing that speed, cutting a pass out, that can get that backline away. But yeah, it's a game of inches, and this is going to be so vital. It's going to be so vital to take them out to that last bit. Ian saying, think leegmaak. This is the last 50 minutes all up, 100%. Put that 50 minutes in and see where it takes you. Because I think that at the moment is where the Boks are really going to be. If we can keep them in the first 20 minutes at bay, 3-point game between them, going to halftime, then I think that's game on.
And I think that is everything behind the selection. To go out flat out and hang in there. And if the Boks have a sniff with 30, 25, 20 minutes to go, the Springbok side is going to be in with a serious out. Barry, 100%. I think we've moved over time. Your call, we had some fan mail. Are we going to attend to that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's go over time. I think we have the luxury to do that. So we have some Têkkel mail. We had a voice note, and we also had some images. So here is some of your guys that sent out some of your information and your pictures. We had Richard. Is it Richard and Richard?
Yes, Richard Erasmus. It came through. Ek het my seun Ryan. Ryan, al bokke in die huis, sy ma 'n All Black. Jy leer hom goed al vroeg al. Well done, Richard, well done. Hy het van goed verwag.
Goed verwag in die Weskaap. Ja, goed verwag. Sendingsdorp hier aan die kant Pakketberg. Kry hom vir hulle op die show te hê. Daar is Richard Erasmus.
And then we got a voicemail from Richard, all the way from another Richard.
Richard en Richard, ek het gesien, Richard en Richard.
Richard all the way from Namibia.
Yes, Alberik. Richard hierso, Windhoek, Namibia. Ek is bly om ook kan by te dra tot die program. Al wat ek kan sê, dit was 'n taai wedstryd geweest. Dit kon enige kant toe gegaan het, maar ek is net bly ons kon die wenners uittree uit die stryd uit. Ons senuwees is behoorlik klaar geweest na die wedstryd. Maar ons is baie bly. Ons is deur. Die manne het 'n bietjie moeg gelyk vir my. Maar ek is seker met die finale teen die All Blacks, weet ek Rassie sal die manne kry en Jacques sal die manne kry om weer gemotiveerd te wees vir hierdie eindstryd. Ek is baie seker daarvan. En dan wil ek net vir almal daar buite kan sê, ons Namibiërs, ons is nogal 'n klomp wat die bokke ondersteun en ons staan bankvas agter die bokke en ons weet ons sal hierdie wedstryd, hierdie eindfinaal sal ons kan doen. Dit gaan taai wees. Maar ek is baie positief. Ons ons sal hierdie eindstryd kan wen. Ja, die enigste tyd wanneer ons nie die Bokke ondersteun nie is wanneer die Bokke teen Namibië speel, maar verder aan is ons baie loyale ondersteuners van die Bokke. En ja, al wat ek kan sê is, ons moet nie moed verloor nie, ons moet positief bly en na Saterdag aand sal ons vir die volgende 4 jaar weer daai beker en daai reg kan hê om te sê ons is wêreldkampioene. Okay, mooi dag. Thanks. Bye.
Ja, lekker.
Lekker. Al die pad van Namibia. Thank you for that. Alto Richards. Good to hear. The support is all there. And you guys, you missed the first part of our show. There's a lot of videos going around on social media. And we just had a few videos that we showed on the intro. So yeah, it's good to see. Please send us your videos, guys. We'd love to see your fan mail and just show the hopefully the Saturday it's good news for us. But even before the game, please post it on our Facebook page. We'd love to see it. And yeah, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal.
Ripper. Now, B, I think it will not be right if we just look into our Super Brew. But unfortunately, we will have to end off our show on a slight low. One of our Super Brew pool participants, a great contributor to the show itself, Gus Witboy. Last night we got the news that he sadly passed away. He was a fond viewer of the Têkkel Talk Show. He was part of our Rugby World Cup Super Brew pool. Great sport fanatic, intellectual, and someone who was part of this establishment of the show right from the start. He was part of the show, and really sad news to hear about his passing. Sincere condolences from the Têkkel Talk Show, our team, everybody out there who knows Gus, his family who's been part. I know Ambrose and some of his family members and acquaintances been part of the show, commenting on the show. Colleagues out there who's been part of Gus's life. Our condolences, and there is one of obviously his brother Ambrose just saying, I think the box will do it for my brother Gus. So Ambrose still online and tuning in. But from our side at the Têkkel Talk Show, Gus has been a absolute star, and we know that his legacy will live for many more years. Ian Adams, I know Ian, a great colleague of Gus as well. Heine also saying rest in peace. So from our side, it's a low. It's a low to end of our show. May Gus's soul rest in peace, and thanks for the comments, Gus, for making the show for what it is, and then also for that infectious laugh that you always had. We will certainly miss that, and our condolences goes out to his family.
Yeah, 100%. We really think of him, Ambrose and Gotham and Sinclair. Them, we think of them, and yeah, we wish you guys all the best from our side through this difficult time. We think of you guys.
Yeah, thanks. And let's just in remembrance of him, just have a last shot of exactly where he was on the log. There, Gus is playing with us. He's done very well, and to see him right up there, and it tells you how much he knew about rugby on our Super Brew log. Yeah, it's a sad moment, Alberic, and we look at that log, and obviously for those of you that will make your final picks, please look back, and we see Speedster there at number 7. We will fondly look back, and we will remember the contributions that is made to the Têkkel Talk Show. So from our side, lastly, Gus, thanks for playing along, and go well, my friend.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And with that said, I think, looking at the log as well, the guys, it's a very touch and go battle on top. Melly, Flo, Dane. I think it's probably a four horse race, Heine, probably, if you can say that at the moment.
I think
possibly win it.
Yeah.
It's a 4 horse race.
A 4 horse race. Let's Ja,
Hoe
let's
ver is
call
jy
it
af
a
in die
force
kos kyk
race.
al?
I think waar's ons twee? Ja, kyk jy
Nee,
kan my
nee.
nou, né? You know what
Nee,
happened this
jou.
week?
Jy's weg. Jy waar is jy nie? Wat gedaan?
25ste.
Just
Ja,
nee,
you
nee.
know.
Kyk as jy die All Blacks gekies het naweek, dan weet jy
Ek het nie die
al
All
klaar,
Blacks
jy-
gekiesie. Ek het nie die All Blacks gekiesie. I'm just getting margins wrong. But I need to be really what is the word? I need to be brutally honest. I actually missed the first semi-final. I think I just
Ja.
missed the deadline. But again, I think in general,
Dis ou
ja, Miali is eintlik
Miali is
kyk
over.
die location is New Zealand. Die ou is eintlik van die Kaap, maar hy's van New Zealand. Hy is die ou wat nou
van 'n Makwaland, hy's van 'n Makwaland oorspronklik.
van Namakwaland,
So
ja.
ja.
Maar hy
En
bly nou in New
jy moet-
Zealand.
Ashman,
Ja.
asseblief, Ashraf, Suleiman, waar is die pot? Ek moet nou die houtlepel, so hulle weet vir ons wanneer ons kan omkom asseblief. So graag hy pot kom
Yeah,
maak.
so I need to go. Ja, see, from me being right up there, kyk af 25ste. Ek maak nie is rassiese 7-1 split by nummer 23 nie.
En ek sien Angus is verby jou ook. Angus loop verby
Oh,
so
ek
ja.
gaan nie ene van dit hoorie. Wie is onder my? Oh, nee, wat? Kyk, dis maar 'n probleem. Dis maar 'n probleem. Nee,
I need
kyk
to
mense,
looking forward-
ons gaan natuurlik volgende week sal ons reveal. Ons het 2 pryse, eerste en die tweede plek ongelukkig brons by ons is niks. So ons gaan vir julle reveal volgende week. Ons wil nie nou al vir julle sê nie, maar ons het lekker sponsors gekry. So volgende week na Saterdag se wedstryd maak ons toe en kom ons hoop dat of Miali of enige van die ouens in die top 3 kan wegstap met 'n safe keuse. Safe keuse gaan natuurlik wees die Springbokke, maar hy margin point vir hulle het 'n 0,2 punt wat hy natuurlik agter Miali is.
Ja.
En ook 'n ou wat al jare al deel is van hierdie Têkkel Talk Show, Miali Duin en dan Jacques verder af, dink ek hier van 52 af. Dink ek is ons almal weg en speel ons almal soos Manchester United, maar net om die getalle op te maak. Ek moes dit daai inkry net vir Gassie, want Gassie natuurlik ook 'n massive Liverpool supporter gewees. Daar is Vrydag aand ja, Berik, Engeland en Argentinië. Hulle speel natuurlik vir die bronsmedalje. Een van hulle gaan 4de plek eindig. Lekker wedstryd om te speel. Ek sien die Engelse het grootskaalse veranderinge gemaak aan hierdie span wat teen die Bokke verloor het. Gaan 'n lekker game wees en ek gaan natuurlik vir die Argentynë back, maar wie weet, ek dink die Engelse miskien dalk net te sterk. And there we have it. Massive.
Big one. The massive game. The biggest one ever.
Sommige media het hierdie wedstryd gecall as the match-up of the century. En ek kan vir julle sê, in my geheue het ek nog lanklaas 'n finaal gesien vir verskeie redes. Nou hierdie New Zealandse span verdeel gesinne, families, daar's sekere huwelike wat op die rotse is as gevolg van New Zealand. So hulle het some kind of a connotasie, of kom ons noem dit 'n connection with South Africa for various reasons. And now we see the South Africa New Zealand team go toe to toe for the very first time in the professional era, in the strictly professional era. And again, the South African side is defending champions, New Zealand perhaps on the high of their lifetime. Nou hulle gaan so 'n coach sit, wen of verloor, hulle coach gefire. It's interesting times. Perhaps the biggest rugby game of my, let's call it, of my memory when it comes to the professional era.
100%, I think there's nothing bigger than this one. And we've had a couple of finals now. We've had SA England, the last World Cup. We've had Australia France in '99. There was, I think it was
England South Africa in 2019 was a ripper.
Yeah, England Australia as well in 2003. But this rivalry, I think the culmination of this is just fairy tale. Like, I think there's not going to be, with all respect, due respect to other teams, France and Ireland deserve to be there. But on over the course of rugby history, these two teams have been kind of the markers. And once again, Southern Hemisphere team doing its thing.
Ja, maar kykie, ons dra nou die bok Ons drama nou die bok
mou.
varing, ja, sê ja, die bok of whatever, ons is Springbokke. Selfs ons is versigtig om 'n uitslag te predict.
Yep.
Let's have a go at this, you know. This is why people tune in. Gaan ons met ons hart of gaan ons met ons verstand?
Yes, jy nie.
I'm
I'm going to say, are we allowed to call 2 or are we going to go 1? Are we going to go 1, guys?
You know, we take the, yeah, I know what you want to say. You want to say permutations if, and if we are in.
But let's call it. Let's call it. Yes, yeah, I know, man. Yes, bro.
It's called.
Box.
I'm going to go. Yeah.
I'm going to go box. By 5. I think box by 5.
Yeah. Now I think the Springboks will probably come out. Remember, we've never lost a Rugby World Cup final, and I think the Springboks will win this Rugby World Cup final in the dying minutes of this game with 1 point. It's going to go down to the wire, and I believe that the Boks will beat New Zealand with 1 point in the Rugby World Cup final in France come Saturday, 11 o'clock South African time. I'm not going to say, you know, here is Dewald all right.
Dewald, I love it, but I love that optimism. I love it.
Listen,
I love it.
There is no way that the Springboks is going to beat New Zealand this convincingly. Even, yeah, Dewald.
Wow, I need, wow. Hulle dit gedoen op Twickenham. Gee die bokke hulle duw. Gee die bokke. Victor was sê, man, let's be honest, Willie gaan up and under en knock op die einde. Victor, wat? Is Victor All Black? Victor's All Black now.
I can't even dispute what he's saying. But you know, I think we need to be in a position where we budget for these things, you know. I saw All Black. He's clearly an All Black. You know, yeah, Dewald would say, Dewald, if we run away with this one, if we beat this All Black side with 12 points, let's leave 12, 8 points or more. Daar moet die stories wees. I am one of the guys who said, listen, I believe that going into this World Cup, we might not even rank at number 1 and number 2 as the favorites. But, you know, if I think we are already on the IRB log. We are already at number 1. If we beat this New Zealand side in France with the momentum that the All Blacks had, if we beat them with more than 10 points, dan moet daar nie stories wees van, you know, 7-1 en Dean moes gespeel het. I believe it's going to be very tight, very, very close, and I'm hoping is in our favor. And if it is, Boks by 4 points, Richard, I think it's going to be even closer than that. Von Wolmer wat sê Boks by 3 points. So ja, kyk, ek weet nie, Dewald, 1 point. Karen Ellis, 1 point.
Karen, ons kan nie 1 point doen nie, my hart kan nie meer.
Ons gaan 1 point doen. Ons gaan 1 point doen. Ons gaan 1 point doen en Boks by 8. Glenn, Boks by 8. It's a big margin in a final. Tonight wat sê Boks met 2 punte. Ek dink, you know, we beat England in the last World Cup by a big margin. But Dewald. Joi! Boks
met 20. Niemand, Boks met 21. Ambrose, lekker. I love it, man. I love it. I mean,
guys, keep it coming.
Why are we not? Why keep it coming, guys? Why are we not giving the Boks their due? What is it?
Listen,
they pulled an amazing game before. Kyk hierso, voor die World Cup begin het, né? Ons was 'n span wat die All Blacks gehaal het van daar af, Rugby Championship. Julle is lower the picking order as 'n kom by 4 spanne. So we brought them down, right? So we are the team. So let's keep the Boks.
Very,
you know, it could just be that one.
21. Just think about that, you know.
Deel wil op hom. Deel is eers die kant toe en deel wil. Like, I like it. I love it. Whoa. He's ene wat deurkom.
Maar
Dis
ja,
ene wat deurkom.
All Blacks by 8, you know.
Wel by.
Yeah,
And
because
you know what I
it's
need?
fine margins. Fine
But
margins.
you know what I need? But hold up. All Blacks by 8 is not almost impossible because of the way they play. And you almost think that the way they play, they will be able to do that easily, you know. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one.
No, they should. It sounds, again, for the All Blacks and the All Black supporters, it sounds like, you know, we should be beating the Boks by 8 to 10. But remember, this is the Springboks. You've never beaten the Springboks in a Rugby World Cup final. And you know, you've never beaten a Springboks 7-1 split. You know, that is perhaps how you get to the 8 is a 7+1. But you've never beaten the Boks in that Bokke met 8 punte. So Anne Green wat sê Bokke met 8 punte. And, you know, I think, Alberic, what we're going to do is maybe on Saturday, just at 7 o'clock, let's just get on, even if it's for 2 minutes, and throw some of this. Let's just throw some of the extra predictions. Ek weet mense gaan nou sit en hulle is versigtig om 'n prediction te waag. Maar ek gaan die Bokke back.
And I'll tell you what.
You know?
I tell you what, Annie. I tell you what, and no matter what the result, let's go, you know, next week's show, we'll go and highlight the one who was the closest, because, I mean, yes, it's going from 2 to 5 to 8 to 21 points.
Ons gaan Dewald is disqualify. Dewald is uit. Hy kan nie gaan van 21 na 12 toe, na 1 toe nie. So hy's uit. Hy moet nou sy mind, of hy moet sê in hoofletters, ek select, dit is my uitslag.
Ja.
En ek dink die Bokke met, so as hy tussen 12 en 1, miskien Bokke met 8 of iets soos dit. Maar ja, kom ons doen dit. En guys, daar is die fixture. Daar is die fixture. William Webb Ellis Cup. Suid-Afrikaanse tyd 9 uur. As julle die kele wil nat maak, moet nou nie voor 4 uur begin op 'n Saterdagie, want dan gaan julle op julle hande stap 9 uur. Kom ons het nou 'n bietjie temperament. 9 uur op die 28ste Oktober start the France. Ten minste is dit nie, wat is hy ander een wat jy gesê het, ja, Berry? Bordeaux. As jy start the France. En ek hoor daar is 'n bietjie reën in die lug, maar Saterdag 9 uur. Almal in groen en goud, en die All Blacks wat hulle swart dra, is hulle volle reg om aan te trek in hulle swart gewaad. Dit gaan 'n wedstryd wees om te onthou.
One for the ages.
Altyd lekker om die
for the ages. I need, and before we go as well, let's take our hats off as well to the Proteas. They've been playing phenomenal the last 2 games. Never mind that one little game that nobody really cares about. They battered England. They battered Bangladesh. They've really shown against the top teams that they can do the job. They're looking very solid at the moment. They're looking all-rounded. They've got a good batting lineup. Heinrich Klaasen in the form of his life. Quinton de Kock, not supposed to be talking about retirement anytime soon, but the guys are really, really showing their worth. And I take my hat off to a guy like Riese Hendricks as well. He's always been the one player that either had to play second fiddle to a A.B. de Villiers or Hashim Amla over the years. And he's doing it again to a certain extent with Bavuma as the captain. But again, this batting lineup looks so solid. Our bowling looks solid. And we have a great all-rounder in Marco Jansen. So the Proteas looking very solid. What are the odds of the Proteas and the Boks doing the deed against the world? It will be absolutely amazing to see. So
they can. They will be able to do it. I think it's just the Proteas, they are shaking off that, remember I said they will, if they are consistent, they will lose against Bangladesh because they beat the big sides, they lose. So they are shaking off that, and I'm pretty excited. As it stands at the moment, they should get to the playoff games. They should get there. They have a great start. And I said that after they've started well against. They should get there. They should get to the semi-final at least. And who knows what happens after that. Let's hope they kick on and they do not drop the ball, because you see, we've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, en dan slaat Kloos na die bal en hy sê Donald hardloop en Kloos na hardloop en keeps van die bal mis. En we find a way.
En het reën en
we find a way.
Ons tel jy ons we don't know the Têkkel and Louw formulas.
Ons moet gelyk wees en
but I mean, this year's different. The Proteas always kicked off the World Cup year, and they end up losing, and the Boks picked up, and made the country feel better. I'm not saying it's the other way around, but the Proteas can do us a beautiful favor, whether the Boks win or not, to really, just do that thing that the rugby does, bring us all together. And I think sorry, before we, nobody's chokers. But with that said, I think this is our longest show. I think we're an hour 20 minutes, guys. It's been.
Ek dink die mense slaap seker, maar goed as nog mense online. We couldn't, but we just had Wynona giving great input. You wanted to throw your last thing?
Yeah, I was gonna say now when we end off. I think we started off with that great video. I think we just end it off and show what South Africans are all about. So yeah.
Good night, guys. Here's it now.
Go Boka!
Thank you.
Bonanza empieza, ubani benga chinja mabubesi. Bonanza empieza.